From an incredibly young age, I can recall my life being full of strong and powerful women. As in Mexican culture, society is much more matriarchal, with women often taking charge of the household and being highly respected. I felt the strength of women even more so being one of 3 daughters. Regarding my grandmother, she is one of the strongest women I know. She raised her 8 children after the passing of her husband all by herself and became the main breadwinner while still raising her children to the fullest capacity. In contrast to the matriarchy I have witnessed first-handedly, Rossini's novel A Thousand Splendid Suns provides an insight to a patriarchal society by following 2 women throughout their lives in Afghanistan. Khaled Hosseini was inspired to share his interpretation of women's struggles in Afghanistan after a life-changing trip to the country. According to Hosseini, it was his first visit to his homeland in 27 years, and while he was saddened to see the devastation that war had wrought, he was inspired by the spirit of the people. The Taliban, although not officially in power, still held prominent positions and wreaked havoc upon the country during the time of his visit. Through sights of the brutal aftermaths of war, he became exposed to the crushing reality of the circumstances women face. By writing his novel, it was Hosseini's intention to focus on the lives of Afghan women who were particularly oppressed under the brutal theocratic Talibani government. At the beginning of the novel, the audience is introduced to Miriam as a harami, which is a derogatory term for an illegitimate child. It is also revealed that Miriam is verbally abused by her mother and craves public love and affection from a father that cannot fulfill her wishes. After her mother is driven to take her own life, her father sells her off to Rashid, an abusive husband. At this point, the story shifts to the second part, which is centered around Miriam's neighbor across the street, Laila. She has a broken mother who cannot love her after the tragic deaths of her son, and a father whose radical ideas concerning women make him weak in Afghani culture. Subsequently, war breaks out, which tears Laila from her family and connects Miriam and Laila's paths. Rashid takes Laila in, and Miriam soon comes to resent her beauty and childbearing ability. They hate each other but grow inseparable as they come to the realization that Rashid is their common enemy. For the characters of A Thousand Splendid Suns, the concept of justice is especially prominent when it comes to the treatment of women. For instance, women are not allowed to leave their homes without their husbands, and this is depicted as Rashid forces Miriam to wear a full burqa. The padded headpiece felt tight and heavy on her skull. The loss of peripheral vision was unnerving, and she did not like the suffocating way that the pleated cloth was pressing against her mouth. The burqa being tight around women's mouths is seemingly a metaphor for the restrictions placed on women's ability to express their thoughts vocally. Women in Afghanistan are not allowed to express themselves, but rather they must obey their husbands' commands. Not only that, but women are also expected to be subordinate to their husbands and not pursue an education or a career, trapping them within a cycle of subordination to men. They must be dedicated to their husbands unconditionally, otherwise their husbands can use their wives' defiance to justify spousal abuse. Hosseini depicts the cruel actions inflicted upon women when Rashid is unhappy. His powerful hands clasped her jaw. He shoved 2 fingers into her mouth and pried them open, then forced the cold, hard pebbles into it. Miriam struggled against him, mumbling, but he kept pushing the pebbles in, his upper lip curled in a sneer. "Chew," he bellowed. A gust of his smoky breath slammed against her face. Miriam chewed. Something in the back of her mouth cracked. "Good," Rashid said. His cheeks were quivering. "Now you know what your rice tastes like. Now you know what you've given me in this marriage. Bad food and nothing else." Despite all of these abuses, Miriam and Laila grow inner strength from each other, and Miriam decides to make the ultimate sacrifice and kill Rashid to save Laila. In addition, the novel reflects current social conditions regarding gender discrimination in today's day and age. This is especially prominent as we have seen a rise in women's marches and women speaking out and finding their voice. Despite progression in gender equality, prevalent pay gaps, legislation restrictions, and even gender-based violence are rampant across the country. That is why it is crucially important to empower women, because as we have seen, they are capable of anything and accomplishing whatever they put their minds to. By revealing the issues women face, society as a collective can work at last towards resolving them and achieving justice in one way or another, just like Miriam and Laila. Just as Miriam and Laila have worked as a collective to make an impact in their community, so have I by getting involved in my community through acts of community service. Throughout my 4 years of high school, I have donated my time to the community in hopes of making a positive impact. From a stomach cancer 5K, Relay to Life, Breakfast with Santa, and a local food pantry, all of these events have actually served me by revealing to me how every member of a team is crucial and that it takes a village to accomplish great things. Just as my involvement in the community has inspired me to follow my passion of working with teams in a hospital setting, so have my favorite subjects. My favorite subject these past 4 years has been science. I have always been interested in pursuing a career in the medical field, but my experiences in biology, chemistry, anatomy, and sports medicine have solidified my affinity for understanding how the human body functions at various levels. My love for science is precisely why I intend to pursue a bachelor's degree in the science of nursing. Although much of my future remains up in the air and in the hands of college admissions, I have applied to several schools in California to become a registered nurse, including Cal State LA, Cal State Fullerton, UCLA, and UCI. Now I will depart with a quote from the novel that has profoundly impacted me and one I plan to carry throughout my endeavor of navigating life after high school. You see, some things I can teach you, some you learn from books, but there are things that, well, you have to see and feel.